Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of March 31st through April 6th of 2025. All right, so this week we are coming off of that solar eclipse last Saturday. So we're in the very early stages of the lunar month and just slowly building momentum as we have now a fresh new start. So it's been good weekend here for planting new seeds, having new perspectives on life. And now this week, slowly perhaps, I would say mostly experimenting with these things or perspectives, getting our feet wet, trying new things. It's so early in the cycle that we are just building a little bit of that momentum. But once we do get to the weekend, especially around Saturday, we will be in the first quarter phase. That's where we come to our first challenges of the lunar cycle. But in this case, things get very clear. We know what we are implementing or what we need to implement, and we start to notice things manifesting in the context of the seeds that were planted. So very important, of course, because eclipses are always very important lunar cycles. And so we are certainly now in a month of cultivating a new life path, a new direction. And with all this in Pisces, having more receptivity, more peace, more flow in our life, mental health, spiritual health, this kind of stuff definitely has been and will continue to be the theme here. So this week we have Mars going into Cancer, back into Cancer from his retrograde here. So we are getting a shift from Mars in Gemini. Mars in Gemini was more about information, communication, being direct with that stuff. And now going into the more emotional worlds. How can we go back to connect to our feelings, our past, and assert ourselves that way? This week we have Saturn sextiling Uranus. This is a major aspect for the year. In fact, it's the first one. The last one will be in early January of next year. And this is all about cultivating a little bit more of opportunities in our life, opportunities to build things that perhaps we're excited about. We have a bit of a sense of inspiration about, an aspiration about. Saturn can really help us build that. And Mars will be in good harmony with that as well, so that's good to see. And then the weekend has Venus and Mars trining. There's a nice support between the feminine and masculine aspects of life, and Mercury will go station for his direct early next week. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, March 31st. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You won't see mainstream using the visible sky like this because, well, they don't use it. So the signs are different, especially if you notice that perhaps you're expecting the sun to be in Aries right now, for example. But we're seeing it here in Pisces. If you're noticing this discrepancy, definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so let's do a little bit of a recap since we do have Mars changing sign this week. But things are still very much continuing with the Pisces energy. The sun's still in Pisces, Mercury and Venus still retrograde in Pisces, and of course activating Neptune and Saturn like they've been doing. So this is really part of this whole, now what is now a new lunar month. Now we had this as part of the previous month as well, but it's really a fresh new start to this. So if we think around just last Saturday, we had a solar eclipse, fresh new beginning. It's a north node eclipse, so it's really a lunar cycle now of being more proactive and taking more initiative and putting effort into this mental health and spiritual health. Pisces is all about cultivating more of that soul connection to life. And as a result, having more acceptance, more flow, more presence, more of a connection there to even what we could call the spiritual or inward spiritual dimensions of life. So very good to be setting these intentions. Of course, it's still early in the lunar cycle, as I was saying. So it is something that we're not supposed to be, full on implementing just yet, but certainly experimenting and again, taking a bit of that proactive approach to these things. The North Node always calls us to have to be, put in effort and really continuous effort towards the area. and in this case with receptive Pisces. Now with Mercury and Venus still retrograde, of course, still being flexible in general is really good right now, especially with the day-to-day stuff with Mercury, also with communications and correspondences, allowing for flexibility there. And Venus, when it comes to our enjoyments of life, what we value, who and what we value, this is all going through a reflection and a reconnection here. And also our relationships can benefit from that sense of either going back or reconnecting or approaching things just a little bit differently than we normally do there. All right, so that's definitely the main theme there. And yeah, Mars is changing sign this week. That's going to be closer to around Thursday. So Mars finishing Gemini this first half of the week, finishing up what we've really learned during Mars's retrograde in Gemini, partially in Gemini, which really had to do, and what we can be completing now is this sense of directness and assertiveness with particularly our communication, our peers, the people in our immediate environment, and just being more curious as well in life. Gemini is all about synergizing things in life and being interested and curious in how things come together and fit together. And so that sort of practical view is what's been really good to be proactive with and put a little bit more energy into there with Mars. All right, so that's coming into the week. Again, the most important thing, though, is that it's the very early phase of the lunar cycle. We're just slowly building momentum. It's the lowest energy of the cycle as well. And again, it's all about receptive Pisces. So looking at Monday here, we'll go ahead and go through this each day of the week, starting with Monday. We've got the moon in Aries, and this is going to place a theme on Monday around that initiative in general. There'll probably be themes around cultivating that proactivity in our life, that assertiveness in life, and taking some initiative with things. So good to cultivate that. Also a good time of anything that will help us with self-awareness, cultivating our identity or healthy egos, and putting in more of that fire into things. So nothing major there, but just a theme, just a good way of slowly building momentum in the lunar month. Now, as we do get to Tuesday and what will really encompass all the way until that early Thursday time, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and early Thursday, we're going to have the moon in Taurus, and this is going to add to a little bit of grounding energy. This is a little bit more harmonious with the Pisces energy, and plus the moon really likes to be here. So these, let's call it 3 days, really good for groundingness. Taurus the bull, it's all about cultivating our inner and outer resources. So inner resources like self-value, natural talents, natural abilities, cultivating inner strength. This is really good. Themes around that, good to cultivate it, but also externally as well, good to connect with the grounding elements of life, such as nature, maybe the sensual life or enjoyment or even luxurious life, getting more in touch with our senses, beauty, taste, aesthetics, right? So cultivating that more earthy and grounded approach, taking things slowly and stopping to smell the roses is always good here with Taurus. All right, and then once we get to this later part of Thursday, the moon will go into Gemini, and that's going to be really the main emphasis here on Friday, but we'll also include early Saturday there. But shifting into a little more of this practical energy we were talking about. And this is really at the same time that Mars is starting to leave. So perhaps there's some things to, again, really wrap up, maybe especially there around the Thursday, Friday time period in regards to that curiosity, in regards to that interest, and perhaps even communication stuff. But this is, again, going to be Mars slowly going closer to Cancer. And so for the coming weeks, this is going to be really good to put some of that assertive energy towards who and what is important to us emotionally in life. So this is where Mars started his retrograde, and so he's still finishing up that shadow, still going over the place that we were already reflecting on. We were already going through things. This was late last year into early this year. And so reconnecting to that, reconnecting to our emotions, our feelings, the past, our roots, and again, putting some energy into that. Externally, that can be a little more fiery or proactive with things like home or family, personal relationships, who we consider family, so maybe our tribe, these kinds of things, really good to put a little more of that fire into now, and maybe start to implement in regards to whatever was connected with back late last year into early this year in that area. All right, so the aspects this week, as you can see, really concentrated over the weekend. What you're seeing here with these three is basically one configuration. The main thing here is that Saturn is sextiling Uranus, and this is part of 3 contacts that will be all the way until, I said early January, but it's actually until January 20th of next year, with a middle contact on August 11th. So this is going to be, let's call it, a 9-month energy here, 10-month energy of cultivating what really is opportunities. Now, sextiles are energy that we're not really thrusted into. We're not forced into. We're not pushed into. We can choose to work with them or not. So we like to think of them as doors opening or opportunities. And in this case, it's to cultivate the grounded energies of Saturn, the builder, to build things, to implement things, to really think about our long-term future. But with Uranus, the planet of really connecting to our higher self when it comes to listening to our excitement and doing things that give us more of a sense of freedom in our life. So these are in good harmony, which can suggest that, this is really starting a very long, many months here. That's very good to really cultivate a life that does, really speak to our excitement, to follow that excitement, but at the same time where it can take time, at the same time where we do have to be a bit patient, persevering, discipline, and build it. Okay, again, an opening to do so, an opportunity to do so, but it can be extremely constructive. And whatever we do start around this time of the year right now, around this aspect, we can see, really finalizing and completing around the January of next year. So any intentions you want to set like that for the year, it is the main yearly aspect that we have, all starting around this Friday, really all week, but strongest around Friday. And mainly because Mars, which is a faster moving planet, is activating it. So Mars is going to be trining the Saturn and sextiling the Uranus, forming the wedge pattern. And so here we have Mars in a supportive energy to that. So this is going to help give us a sense of boost, a little drive, a little of that proactivity and fiery energy that Mars represents, again, as an opportunity towards those excitements or things we're building or starting to be excited about or starting to build here on the Friday. So that's looking at it from the yearly sense. In the sort of daily or weekly sense, it's just nice to see that the planet of assertiveness and drive is in good harmony with disciplined Saturn and also exciting Uranus. So a little bit of a nice flow there between those. Now, once we do get into the weekend there, the moon will be going into Cancer late Saturday and for all day Sunday. So that's going to place extra emphasis there on the, again, connecting to the things and people that are important to us emotionally. So perhaps a good weekend for that personal life, maybe some caring and nurturing energy for ourselves and others. And we've got Venus trining Mars, which is a good harmony between what we would call the feminine aspect of ourselves and the masculine aspect of ourselves. So a little bit of support here between our receptive side and assertive side, our tactful side and proactive side, right? This yin and yang balance. And this can be great internally, but also externally as well. Can actually give us quite a bit of support there in our relationships, interacting with others on a day-to-day level, maybe having a little bit of flow in terms of going after what we want to either attract in our life or get in our life. Between these are really how we interact with our outer environment. So good harmony there between those elements. And just as a backdrop to that, the sun will be sextiling Jupiter, nothing major, again, just an opportunity, but maybe a sort of day here to think big, to be open-minded, and perhaps maybe some opportunities coming in that we can choose or choose not to cultivate. All right, Venus will be getting closer to Saturn. They'll go exact on Monday. That's adding to perhaps some new things with that groundedness, discipline, and long-term view we've been talking a lot about. And Mercury will start to slow down for his direct. And so finishing, really this week is finishing the retrograde with Mercury. And next week, Venus will also go direct as well. And but Sunday, maybe a little bit of a pause as Mercury slows down. Again, rules our day-to-day life, our communications. And so things slowing down there, good to maybe start to pause a little bit for what will likely be a shift on Monday. All right, everyone. So that's the week in a nutshell. Let's go ahead and just simplify this. Really, it is the beginning of the solar eclipse month coming into this week. Subtle energy, experimenting, building a little bit of momentum. Once we do get to the weekend, though, it does become action-oriented, mainly Saturday. Okay, that's going to be where we may come to our first challenges of the cycle, but really challenging ourselves and, again, starting to manifest the things of this lunar cycle. As you can see, most of the aspects are concentrated around the weekend as well. And the main yearly energy here is that we have a new opportunity or opening to build some things that excite us. Anything we're aspiring towards, but we know will take time. There's an opening here. Mars is supporting it, which is nice to see. And at the very least, just a little bit of that responsibility is in harmony around the weekend. A little bit of that excitement is in harmony as well. We have the masculine and feminine energies in harmony as well, particularly around Sunday. That's giving us that sense of perhaps interacting with others or our outside environment a little bit easier, a little bit of flow there as well. And again, just letting things slow down a little bit for what will be Mercury going direct on Monday of next week. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for the live stream. We go live every Sunday at 1:15 p.m. Eastern time, where we go over these weekly energies. We do Q&A, answer your questions, and sometimes have guests on. So definitely join us for that. And I'll see you all also next week for the weekly forecast. Take care. Bye-bye.